You know, I always like to think that an Eldrazi sounds like that big air horn that Christopher Nolan likes to use in all of his movies, like Inception. A lot of the cards we're about to talk about were just the price of a little Eldrazi spawn, but now they are growing into big Titan Eldrazi prices, and we're here to talk to you about all the cards that just happen to be trending and just happen to be going to the moon, or at least to the top of Emrakul's head, because of Modern Horizons 3.
Was that like an Emrakul is trapped in the moon reference, or did you know that that's what you were doing?
I didn't know that I was doing that. Is that a thing? Emrakul trapped in the moon?
The lore is that she right now is trapped in a moon.
Well, then that is wildly coincidental that I did not know the lore. I was just like, you know, prices go to the moon. Eldrazi are big.
I loved it. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Dripshop. If you're watching this on Friday, June 7th, that means we're going to be live tonight at 9 p.m. giving away 2 boxes of MH3. Jake, can you believe it?
That set is so good.
It's an insane set, and it's affecting prices. That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. But Dripshop is also running a cool limited time promotion where you can win some bounties for finding specific cards.
Yeah, $10,000 in bounties, and it's across Magic the Gathering, it's across One Piece, there's some Pokemon in there, there's also football cards, and if you happen to pull one of those cards on any one of these different streams that feature these products, you can win a massive bounty.
That's right, and they've also got a 5K giveaway going specifically to the winners of those bounties if all of the bounties get hit at least once. So go use our link to sign up for Dripshop, RSVP for our show tonight, and we will see you there. Maybe you can win a collector booster. So ever since Commander Masters of last year, we've had Eldrazi on the mind, and it's all been leading to Eldrazi being in Modern Horizons 3. There are a lot of cards whose prices are being affected by what was printed in MH3 and what wasn't printed in MH3. Jake, the first 4 cards that we've got here, they were all from Commander Masters, and it's like, obviously we knew we weren't going to see these, but that doesn't mean they're not going to go up in price.
Yeah, Zoladoc here. Colorless spells you cast from your hand have mana value 7 or greater. Or, excuse me, with mana value 7 or greater have Cascade. So that's going to be a big thing going on, right? Is in Eldrazi, you have this kind of difficulty, because I've played the deck a couple times now.
Yeah.
If your big thing gets removed, you kind of are sitting there going, oh, I just tapped out 10 to cast this thing. So in the event that you, and then someone counters it or someone hits it with a removal spell and it's just done, and you kind of feel like you've lost an entire turn. Well, cards like this, where if you actually do succeed in casting your stuff, you're going to get just insane triggers. And yeah, I'm not surprised that this card is taking off in the slightest. That deck is a really nice starting place, Eldrazi Incursion, for a very strong Eldrazi deck. So once you go in there and you start making cuts, a lot of the cards we're talking about today, like Joel mentioned, are the cards that weren't included in that deck. So we look back at BFZ and Oath of the Gatewatch and some of these other sets to fill that deck out, and those are the prices that we're seeing.
Yep, you can see right here, May 30th, we were around $10, and this is basically moving specifically in tandem with the news, the realization that it wasn't going to get a reprint. Another one is Dark Steel Monolith, also from Commander Masters. 8 mana indestructible, and once per turn you can pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a colorless spell. You just get a free one once you resolve an 8 mana artifact, and that artifact is indestructible. It's not even just Eldrazi that this one is going to pop off the back of. And so this is a card that should be on your radar, but as you can see, it's already popping.
This is an Imskir piece, because I'm building that deck right now. Another MH3 card.
There's going to be...
you've got double dipping going on here. Eldrazi want it. Big Artifacts wants it. Like, I absolutely want this in that deck. I'm playing freaking... stuff like Blightsteel Colossus. I'm playing stuff in there like Darksteel Forge. If I can get Darksteel Monolith out and just cast big stuff in there. Yeah, dude, this is a crazy card.
Yeah, this one's insane, and you're absolutely right with the double dipping. There's a card at the end that is also very much like this. I just included it in our front portion because it was a Commander Masters card that we were pretty sure we weren't going to see back-to-back years. But this one and other colorless cards will move, like you're saying, in response to multiple archetypes. It's almost like cards that say colorless and are not specific artifact or Eldrazi. That's fine wine stuff right there. These cards are only going to get better and better and better. And I promise you, colorless is not always just going to be, you know, Eldrazi or artifacts or whatever else, you know, secondary strategies there are with colorless as an archetype right now. There'll be another one at some point. Darksteel Monolith card later we're going to talk about. They're both going to pop like that.
This one to me, like, this is fine wine list. All the Eldrazi stuff too, because that's such a big, like, over the top creature type, right?
Right. Looking at a card,
Cicada.
Yeah. This one, colorless spells, they have flash now. And when you cast them, Cicada can get trample and +X, where X is the spell's mana value. You can cast it after blocking. You can cast it after attacks. You can trigger this thing and just make this enormous insect out of nowhere. And again, colorless. This has nothing to do with just Eldrazi, nothing to do with just artifacts, but plays super well in both, especially where there are cards, you know, that are enormous mana values. This one's just started to move.
This is Eldrazi Mimic vibes right here, dude.
Right.
It's like a very similar kind of thing. You're getting a big effect the turn something comes into play.
Right.
And, you know, the Eldrazi Mimic may or may not be on this list. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. We also did get some big chunky Eldrazi stuff from Commander Masters, and you're seeing under 6s, around 5s. Now we're moving up to 8s. This stuff is going to get a short-term pop. If you want to, you could, not financial advice, sell into the hype. That's always a pretty good move, is sell into the hype and then rebuy when it's lower, but that's up to you. I don't know what the reprintability of a lot of this Eldrazi stuff is, so might be years. This is more of a,
especially
if you're
Commander
not using
Masters,
right,
like, just came out.
Flair's got an insane ability. You're gaining it. It gets 10/10, trample, annihilator, 2 haste, stealing that creature. This is the kind of big finishy style Eldrazi that players are going to want for that deck. But Jake, there were some cards from the past, way further back, that people were kind of like sitting on, waiting on. You can see where it was all this year. We knew there was Eldrazi. Nobody wanted to buy them. Nobody wanted to overprice and try it, you know, because we didn't know if it was just going to get a reprint. But Eldrazi Mimic, one of the 6 cards now that were not reprinted, that are moving as a result of that.
Yeah, this is an Eldrazi that you want to get early, because now whenever you're casting, or whenever another colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can change Eldrazi Mimic's base power and toughness to that creature's power and toughness until end of turn. So if this comes out early, you cast a 10/10. Now you're getting in with a 10/10 that you essentially, you know, played for 2 mana. I'm not even surprised by this. It's really funny. I have like 16 of these. I posted a picture in the Discord of all my Eldrazi Mimics, because I was going through and I was like just organizing. And this takes me back to Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch, when I was opening packs trying to find expedition lands. Stuff like this was worth nothing for so long.
Yeah.
Because of that set in mass openings.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see these cards actually gain some interest. It's really sweet.
Well, and it's interesting because you look at this, there's no other printing of this. And this is a rare from that set in 2016. But because it was so mass opened, you're still only seeing rares pop up to 4, even though this is the kind of rare that we would see jump up to 10 or 12 bucks if it was from a typical set around this time. And a commander deck from now really wanted it. This has only got a little bump up to 4, but it's a bump worth noticing, worth looking at.
That to me is already an astounding change in price from this card that used to be like 50 cents or a quarter or whatever it used to be.
Right.
What is its all-time low?
All-time low on this one is 52 cents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But fine wine stuff. Rise of the Eldrazi. is not a set that was like as massively opened by any means.
True.
And Eldrazi Temple is one that it did get a reprint in Modern Horizons 3, the Commander deck. However, it's popping, as you can see. It's also kind of like stopping popping now. It's going back down because people have 100% confirmed it as being in the set. But I do have to take note of this one here, which is a card that we probably slept on when we were analyzing this. But now it's worth noticing, Jake, in our analysis going forward is like, okay, could this be a plant? Could this be something that we're going to see? Because now this single card from that layer nearly double the price. They're
playing 4D chess over there, dude. We're playing checkers.
I'm telling you.
They're showing us. They're putting it in front of us, and it's up to us to put together the pieces of the puzzle. This is honestly pretty freaking crazy, and it is giving me like, man, would have been worth it for essentially the Ancient Tomb of the Eldrazi deck that has 0 drawback, right? Ancient Tomb normally hits you for 2 damage when you want to tap it. This is a must run in the Eldrazi deck.
Yeah.
When you have a staple like this, no one's like, yeah, I'm gonna skip Eldrazi Temple. Don't need that in the deck.
Right.
Everyone's gonna roll their eyes out of their head.
But but when you see it in a secret layer drop for $30 and it's cheapish, it's the one of the price drivers for the set for that SLD. But
100%. But
you've just had the Eldrazi printed. You don't know that Eldrazi's coming up. They do print it right there, boom, in the pre-con, new art. But the SLD, you just don't think, oh wow, maybe this one will just pop off like crazy.
People
because
want
it's
that
the
pimp version.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly right.
That one's crazy to me. That's a swing and a miss. I did not buy that secret layer, and I don't even remember what secret layer it was in.
Same. Here's another Battle for Zendikar card. Jake, popped when we saw that we were going to have the Eldrazi on the scene here. People really wanted it right around Commander Masters time. Cooled off, and it's starting to crank back up again. Do you have a copy of this one?
Did this get a reprint?
Battle for Zendikar Conduit of Ruin is the only version that you can get. That is why.
Are you teeing me up for a silly question here? Yes. I have probably 15 to 20 of these if I had to guess.
Well, if I had to guess,
I should have prepped this for the video. I should have just had them here, but if you need one, I will send it to you, brother. You got the Conduit of Ruin.
I will take all the Battle for Zendikar, all of that era of Zendikar Eldrazi stuff. I'll take extra copy of whatever you got that falls off the back of the Eldrazi truck.
It is fallen off the truck. At this point, this stuff is so far out of sight, out of mind that if you just want these for your deck, this was lost money to me long ago. So I'm just happy to see any of this do anything. I mean, look at this ability on this card.
Oh, it's huge.
The first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. How do you not run that in the deck? It's the same thing.
Right.
It's the same thing we were saying about Eldrazi Temple. It's a must run. You have to have this card in the Eldrazi deck.
So it'll be interesting watching this one going forward. Perhaps this could be already planned for a secret layer in the next year or so. Make a targeted product for the people who have bought the 2 Eldrazi precons back-to-back years. They've smashed them together. We haven't reprinted Conduit of War. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm starting to see.
It's even worse than FOMO.
It's the Freer of messing out. I am so sure that this is... I just start to see patterns the more and more we watch this. You see a card seated here in a secret layer, you go, what is that for? Why that one now? And then it becomes clear a little bit down the road. I could see this one popping up, but I could also see this one, within the next 2 months go up to 10 again. Maybe it's a good time to sell if you're sitting on a bunch of these. If you opened up a bunch of this looking for those expos. Jake, World Wake takes us back to our college days. Eye of Ugin did not get a reprint. This was the big one, I think, in addition to the giant Eldrazi cards, the main ones. Eye of Ugin was kind of the, are they going to give us this one? And they did not.
It's another card that's an absolute staple. And I just decided to look up Eye of Ugin Expedition just because this seems like a spot to go. And if you look at the expedition, you can see that it got as low as like $60.
That's
I would
insane.
imagine at
I've
some
got
point.
it market at 40s, dude.
Yeah, so this card at 40s was an absolute steal. And it's hindsight, right? Because right now I'm looking at
2020.
eBay and the cheapest price is 128 for a lightly played. I'm sure we could look over at, you know, TCG Player and all our other spots and find similar prices. But those 40s are long gone. They are soaked up and it ain't coming back down.
No. This is an insane card. It's got to be run. It's another, you know, Soul Ring reduction for all your Eldrazi. And this one, you just play it. You don't even have to do anything. You just play it and you get that reduction. This will be an interesting one. Could this FOMO a secret layer? Could this be a reprint in like a, you know how Lord of the Rings had the lands and the artifacts and the historic places or whatever? This could be a, you know, cool card to put in for like a Ultron. Call it Eye of Ultron. And put, you know, James Spader on it and sell it in the Marvel set. Maybe that's where we see the reprint. But this one is...
Yeah, this card was freaking $70 in April. Just a month, not even a month ago.
That's what I'm saying. If you've got...
Or a month ago, yeah.
World Wake Notebook Gathering Dust and you didn't part with it when it popped in 2016, then it's probably a good time to look at parting with this one before they reprint it, because it only feels like a matter of time now that we've seen the major Eldrazi support 2 years in a row. I mentioned the big ones. This one, Infinite Gyre, Rise of the Eldrazi, Double Masters 22, Ultimate Masters, Modern Masters 22. Your Double Masters 22 is your main copy right now. You can see, got a little bump when this Commander one came out here last year, Commander Masters. But right now, currently flat. I just don't feel like it's going to stay that way as people start to buy these decks, get them in hand, and get them sleeved up.
Yeah, you know, I wonder what percentage of these cards is like being held back by the fact that if it's put into the yard from anywhere, it gets shuffled back in, versus people wanting to reanimate stuff and Eldrazi these days that don't have that weird kind of clause, right?
Right.
That's
interesting. It's the same thing with Emrakul here, Eldritch Moon version, Promised End. You're starting to see a little uptick there. You saw a giant jump from 30 to 80s around Commander Masters, but y'all see where these jumps happen. Like, this is coming out of previews. You know what I'm saying? This is coming out of previews right here. This is in hand. Boom. And then we start to peter off as we get into the next set. And so I don't think that it's going to do this again, but people are going to want this card. People are going to want this one. People are going to want this one.
Secret Layer version.
Yep.
That one recently, which is another secret layer that, gosh darn it, I wish I had bought it, because this one card pays for the whole secret layer.
Yep. Kind of crazy.
Did you get this one?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
No, I did not. But look to the fatties. Look to the biggest butts, y'all. If there's any rule you can take away, look to the biggest butts. The kindred cards of the biggest butts are where you want to look. We talked a little bit about how it doesn't have to say Eldrazi on it. Saying colorless is just as good. You're going to see cards like this. Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less. That's one or more colors. That's perfect for this deck. That's the kind of
why
cards.
not run that in there?
Exactly. Right? Well, I mean, you can see last time players took a little bit longer to catch on to go, oh, it doesn't say colorless or Eldrazi when I searched for cards in Scryfall, but I'm realizing that this is a backdoor good card for colorless.
This just works with my deck synergy because it's not going to remove any of my devoid stuff
at all.
It's a one-sided board wipe that ends the game because I still have shit left over, right?
8 mana, exile everything that's not yours, that's one or more colors. Yeah. And 7 is going to hit everything if you need to.
Yeah.
I look at cards like this. It was discovered late with the Eldrazi deck here. It's kind of petered down. This one hasn't started to jump yet. I also look at versions, really hot, sexy versions that we just got from our Secret Layer Showdown. This one's kind of ticking up here. You know, when Commander players want a card, they want the hot one. And this is kind of like the hot one on the block right now for Ugin the Spirit Dragon. So maybe something to look at if you were sitting on picking one of those up. And then we talked about our Darksteel Monolith cards like Skittering Cicada. This one's not specifically colorless, but artifacts, and those cards tend to follow the trend. We did also have a big artifact commander just printed that is also probably contributing to this, Imskir, a little bit. But
Imskir right here, yep, got it. I have Darksteel Forge in the deck. You know, this is a time, what's really cool about it is it's a time to like get all these big splashy cards out that typically don't get to make it into a lot of decks, and people are excited about that. And when you have a big splashy card like Darksteel Forge, it's hard to just jam it into any random set. It needs to be something kind of calculated, like a Masters set
for sure,
or you know, something that, you know, where you can print a big card like this.
Right. And so typically when you have handshaking strategies like this, colorless artifacts, Eldrazi, they don't necessarily synergize with each other. You don't want to go jam Darksteel Forge into your brand new Eldrazi precon. Just be aware that those tend to move together. Strategies that are linked tend to move together, and we're kind of seeing that here.
The other thing about Eldrazi that I would like to note as well is you're going to have decks like Simic as well that also want to play big splashy creatures that have the ramp, red-green as well. You know, I run a couple Eldrazi in my Itali deck. So you might have sub-themes that are moving the needle on these colorless cards. The thing about colorless is that they can slot into anything. So you might just have Timmies in big green, big red-green, big Simic, big Jund that just want to have Eldrazi. Now, that's not like every single thing that we see here, but maybe the new Ulamog, that's an insane card. Maybe the old Ulamog. All these Eldrazi that are like 9 and 10 mana, very appealing to stuff outside of the strategies we're talking about here.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this is a 10/10 Annihilator 2 with Trample that you can resurrect from the graveyard. You could entomb this and then resurrect it and just not worry about the cast trigger if you wanted to. But it's also got an insane cast trigger. So just like you were saying, people who just want some big stompy stuff, they're going to want this kind of stuff as well. This is exactly the card I was looking for.
Sack a creature to return 2 Eldrazi from your yard.
That's what I'm saying.
What the shit,
and then Conduit of Ruin is one of them, reducing your creature spell costs. So while there are specific strategies, there's a lot of strategies where these are applicable. The point is that this kind of movement doesn't happen in mass very often. And so it's cool to have, you know, 10, 15 cards that are all sort of moving around at the same time just based off of one precon.
Yeah, and then to people like me, you know, it is worth noting that if I do have, you know, 10 or 15 Conduit of Ruins or 10, 15 Eldrazi Mimics, why do I not buy list them and just send them to something like, for example, our sponsor Card Conduit, which is a great spot to sell extra singles. You can buy list that stuff before it inevitably does get reprinted, especially old niche rares are going to perform differently than mythics, right? Because it's just mythics are naturally more scarce. So yeah, if you have a bunch of extra stuff that you don't need, or if you want to pare down old bulk that you didn't realize was now shooting up in price, it's a good time to do that as well.
Every person whose name you're seeing here receives a unique, bespoke, special, one of one, what else? Exclusive, textured, you can rub your finger across of it. Wow, not video.
That.
Not that one. All the words I said, but not the word he said.
Sexual.
Oh my God.
Not that.
Video.
We're not doing that kind of video.
Every one of these people gets a unique video every single week.
Sexual.
Over on our Patreon. This now has been a demonetized video. So we need you on our Patreon more than ever because Jake has demonetized this video. Look, if you join at this level, you get a free video that's only on the Patreon every week. You get a free pack of our sleeves. You get a signed card from us. There's so much stuff up and down the chain over there on Patreon. Go check it out. Thank you to all of these people.
We talked about Imskir in this video, and Imskir is going to be the Patreon video. I'm going to talk about like my first little deck tech of this deck. That's going to be a video that comes out on Patreon very shortly. So
yeah, it will have already come out, I think, by the time this video comes out.
It will.
Bye.